Hi man, peace. So I've done a bevy of videos on Mr. Floyd Mayweather as of recently due to the fact that he's been all over the news for a myriad of reasons, both good and bad. And it's becoming very clear to me that some of these events, whether they be good or bad, may possibly be related. What do I mean by that? I did a video called Who's Trying to Kill Floyd Mayweather? And I went over a series of scenarios that have occurred to me that may correspond with why a seeming attempt was made on his life allegedly. And I say allegedly because it has dawned on me now that it's very possible that the assassination attempt was not on Floyd Mayweather's life, that it may actually have been on someone in his entourage. And he himself may have been the one that decided to execute it. Allegedly. Allegedly. Why do I say that as a possibility? Because he is a Saturnian. As all of the upper crust amongst the entertainment industry are, they're Saturnians. They venerate the quote-unquote Baphomet, Asar, Osiris, whatever you want to call him, also known as the hidden god or the god of the dead. They worship the planet Saturn, which is also known as the black sun. And you'll know that, you can see that because of the symbols that they like to wear or the hand signs that they like to exhibit. And I'm just going to show you a few things as we go through this video here pertaining to Mr. Floyd Mayweather. I stated in another video that I did on him that it's very obvious to me that he was inducted or indoctrinated into the ideologies of the Baphomet around the time that he became a super megastar, right before he fought De La Hoya, because that is seemingly when he started to use the horn sign in many of his photos, the quote-unquote Manu Cornuto. And whether they're followers of Thelema or quote-unquote Saturnians or they adhere to the Baphomet, it's pretty much all the same principle, that being that he is a Luciferian. And the reason why this suddenly came into my mind is because there are talks that they are about to confirm a fight in the mixed martial arts world between him and Conor McGregor. And as we know, last week there was an alleged attempt made on Floyd Mayweather's life. I stated in the video that I did on that subject that it is, as I call it, the quote-unquote killing season, which normally starts around the spring equinox and culminates around May 1st, aka May Day. This is a very high period for Luciferians, because this is the time period where we see the exaltation of the mother goddess, what they call Easter, as well as the rejuvenation of her son, who is known as Haru or Tammuz. That is why they have quote-unquote Earth Day. And it culminates on May 1st, what they call May Day, which would explain a lot of things that have happened not only throughout history, but also throughout recent history. And Floyd Mayweather, he is aware of many of these quote-unquote high holy days. But you know what? They're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in, because I just want to speak on a few things pertaining to both him and Conor McGregor.
Retirement has been great, but as you know, and everybody...
Now, let's pay very close attention. In the last photo that they showed, ESPN I'm speaking about, they showed him with the hat with the red underbelly on his hat. He had on the fur coat, but the overall theme was red, black, and white. We see here as he made the announcement, pretty much confirming that he is going to fight in the UFC in a mixed martial arts fight against presumably Conor McGregor. We once again see the theme of red, black, and white, which is what is known as the Black Mass. Okay? Black Mass, M-A-S-S. You'll see the same theme on an album that I like to cite oftentimes on this channel that was done by one of the higher level MK Ultra Monarch Butterflies, that being Michael Jackson. He did an album called Blood on the Dance Floor, in which he showed you the same theme. So Floyd is without a doubt an initiate. And why am I touching on this as a possible reason for why that shooting occurred in Atlanta? Is because the last time that Floyd had a bout that I believe he himself doubted the outcome was the Manny Pacquiao fight. Why do I say that I believe he doubted the outcome? Because right before the negotiations for the Manny Pacquiao fight were cemented, his friend Earl Hayes allegedly, supposedly committed a murder-suicide on December 8th of 2014. And when that occurred, I said to myself, the Pacquiao fight is going to happen because Floyd executed his blood sacrifice. Allegedly. Once again, everything I'm saying is alleged. Okay? Everything I'm saying is alleged. But after that event occurred, I said to myself, the Pacquiao fight is going to happen. Now we have an event that occurred in Atlanta where allegedly there was an assassination attempt made on his life and his security guard got shot. Was that really an attempt on Floyd's life, or were they looking for someone in his entourage and the orders came from him? Just suspecting. I'm not sure. Once again, it could be that they were trying to get him. He's very prominent. But as I've stated in another video, in their world, according to the rules and laws of their belief system, it's literally kill or be killed. Okay? Once you start to venerate the Baphomet, everyone around you is fair game. And the closer the people are to you, when you decide to have them put forth as a sacrifice, the more you show your fidelity and your loyalty to the craft. They believe that when they perform these blood rituals, these sacrifices, that their God is going to bless them in their future endeavors.
You know, I go in retirement, I come back. I go in retirement, I come back.
Yes, I touched on that in another video. Brother, why do you keep coming back for? Is it just because you're that competitive? Is it because you love the money? Or are you being told behind the scenes by certain factions and certain sponsors that you're going to keep fighting? Or maybe a certain spirit is talking to you. Who knows? Don't be surprised if they show you some of the inside of Floyd's mansions and suddenly he has statues of the Buddha. I mentioned this before. Buddhism is pretty much the official religion of the entertainment industry, because Buddhism is looked at as one of the ideologies, one of the philosophies, one of the quote-unquote religions where they believe that through meditation, or what they call transcendental meditation, that they can get in touch with the spirit world, with the quote-unquote spirits.
Is it possible that I come back? Yes, but if I do come back, it has to be in the octagon.
Now, look at Floyd's attire. This is after his fight against Conor McGregor. You'll see, of course, he has on the black jumpsuit. But right on top of Floyd's left breast, on his left pectoral, you'll see the image of the black cube. And I've mentioned this to many of you brothers in other videos. I went into it a little bit in the 3-part series that I did on the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas event, the mass shooting, which I told you they demand a sacrifice around the time of the Lupercalia. And that was going to instigate a lot of other events that were going to occur thereafter. But that's a whole other issue. Floyd, once again, is a Saturnian. What does that mean? Saturn is just the Roman name for the god Asar, the god of the dead. They venerate the dead. They worship the dead. And they have to perform sacrifices to the dead. And if they don't, their career will shrivel up. Okay? And once again, I noticed that Mayweather started to utilize many of those hand signs around 06, 05, 06, building up to 07 when he got the De La Hoya fight. They normally start off as Masons, and then they're pulled aside and they're shown a higher understanding of that form of initiation, whether it be the Saturnian Brotherhood or outright Luciferianism in the form of becoming a Thelemite, meaning a follower of Aleister Crowley. But along the line, they're pretty much told who their god is, that being Lucifer. And don't take my word for it. Albert Pike said it himself. For those of you who don't know who Albert Pike is, he was the preeminent Luciferian of the 1800s. He was the person who stated that once you get to a certain level in quote-unquote masonry, you're told that your god is Lucifer. Who is Lucifer? Asar. Asar/Ptamin, a.k.a. the goat god Pan. So that is who they venerate. So please pay attention. Look at his jumpsuit. Once again, you'll see the cube of Saturn on it. Okay? Also known as the hexagon. On the north pole of Saturn is the hexagon. A lot of these images and the worship of the planetary bodies is really a whole other video for another day. It has to do with topics like alchemy and the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system. the topic is a little bit too vast for this video. But I just wanted to touch on certain things because it occurred to me that that shooting occurred, and I only looked at it from one angle, when it's also a very high probability that it was executed by Mayweather himself. Allegedly.
When I do go to the octagon, I look...
Wait a minute, you just said when I do go to MMA.
Well,
so you said maybe, and now you're saying do, so let's not parse words.
And let me say this, I hope that I'm wrong. Okay? I hope that I'm wrong. But just seemed very strange that he's considering embarking on a mega fight in a field that he's never engaged in a fight before, that being the UFC, and someone suddenly shoots at him. Now, as I've already noted in the other video, there was a bomb that, if I remember correctly, a little small cocktail bomb that was thrown at one of his vehicles in Europe. I believe that they were in England. So it could easily be that someone tried to shoot at him. It could be that as well. But it just seems extremely strange and sudden that he would have bullets fired at him on the eve of him signing a contract to fight Conor McGregor in the mixed martial arts world. And me just knowing what these people believe in and what their rituals entail, it is a high possibility in my mind.
Words. Are you going to do this?
We don't know.
Do you want to do it?
Absolutely.
Are you training for it? Are you training for it?
Only if the money is right.
What's the number?
You talk to my team about that, of course the number's going to be crazy.
Floyd looking fresh. The chinchilla, then the red hat. I don't know what style that is, but I'm with it.
If you go...
Yeah, I bet you are with it. Molly Karam is that type of chick. All she has to do is see a black man, panties coming off. Allegedly.
Go into retirement, come out, go in, come in. That's not retirement.
Yeah.
It's a layoff.
Wait, before we get into this, I hear we have some very good...
Well, we don't have to worry about that. That's just Stephen A. Smith talking about his radio show. Stephen A. Smith is another Luciferian, by the way. High degree Mason. Behind closed doors, you know what these people are really like? And when I say these people, I'm talking about the higher level entities in the entertainment industry. They're like, for those of you who've seen the Marvel movie Captain America Winter Soldier, there was a scene where Gary Shandling, he plays a senator, and there's another official that was associated with S.H.I.E.L.D. who pulls him close, and Gary Shandling whispers in his ear, "Hail Hydra." For those of you who don't know, Hydra is pretty much the Luciferian faction that was associated with the Nazis in the Marvel world. They were basically just showing you in that film, and the Captain America Winter Soldier film is an excellent film because it goes into a lot of different aspects of not only the mind control program, but also Operation Paperclip. They just do it in a metaphorical way. But they were showing you in that scene that they understand that most of your top senators, businessmen, representatives, athletes, their brotherhood is Luciferian brotherhood.
So the McGregor-Mayweather rematch may happen in a UFC octagon at some point. Stephen A., what will it take for Floyd to fight in the UFC?
Let me say this.
I don't think that it's a matter of what will it take for Floyd to fight in the UFC. He's already declared that he's ready to fight in the UFC. It's just a matter of getting the money right and most likely executing some type of a sacrifice so that he feels comfortable getting into an octagon, feeling like the spirits that are backing him will guarantee him a victory. And I've stated this in another video. The shame of it is that all these brothers got their gifts from the Most High. But because they were never properly taught about the Most High and they have no faith in the Most High, once they got to the exalted levels of the entertainment industry and they were told about these energies, these spirits, these forces that everyone at that level adheres to, they wanted the fame so bad that they themselves embraced these ideologies. And they believe in these ideologies now because there is power on the left-hand side as well. It's just that the end game of embracing the left-hand path is always going to be your own destruction.
Floyd knows how I feel about this, along with Leonard Ellaby and others. I don't believe he has any business in the octagon. Floyd didn't want to get hit when he was boxing. He damn sure don't want to get hit in the octagon.
Well, you're going to get hit when you engage in the combat sports world. There's this narrative that Mayweather doesn't get hit in boxing. There's been many fights where he's gotten hit. He just has a non-for-real defense, great skills and gifts that he received from the Most High. But he's been hit before. Just go look at the first Maidana fight. He got beat around in that fight. It's just that he was able to transcend it because he's the greatest fighter of the modern era.
And the chances of him getting hit in the octagon are going to elevate exponentially because obviously they don't have to just punch you. They can kick you, elbow you, strangle you. They can do all of that stuff. I don't like it one bit, okay? And I think he should stay the hell away from the sport. Having said all of that, I must say this, and this ties in with Conor McGregor. I was appalled by what I saw from Conor McGregor last week, his actions at the Barclays Center. It was just belligerent, just hooliganism. It had no place in the world of professional sports anywhere, to be honest with you, for that matter. And how he conducted himself, I thought he should have been ashamed of himself.
Do you think that was real?
Let me finish.
Okay.
Now, did you hear what Molly Karam said? She said, do you think that was real? I mentioned this in the video that I did on Conor McGregor, the 2-part video that I did. It's very interesting. It's funny to me, but very revealing that when he did what he did, what all the media sports pundits have relegated themselves to is trying to concoct a conspiracy theory where a man picks up a metal handcart and throws it through a bus window. And it had to have been planned because in their subconscious mind, a Caucasian man would never do something like that willy-nilly. He must have planned it and plotted it out. If a so-called black athlete had done that, it would have been that they were out of control, that they were savages, and that they needed help. That's what I mean when I say a lot of quote-unquote racism is not conscious, it's subconscious. And it's a mentality that is held not just by the other races, but by many so-called black people as well. Many so-called black people associate emotionality, haphazardness, and a lack of self-control with being so-called black. And they associate planning ahead and being diabolical with the other races, particularly the so-called Caucasian. He must have plotted it out. He must have planned it out. Do I necessarily believe that it could have been something that was scripted? No, I don't. But if it was certainly something that got out of control. I think that Conor McGregor was just trying to stand up for his campmate who got punked. And he understood that the reverberations would be that Khabib would be able to run around and say, I punked Conor's campmate and I'm going to punk him as well. And he couldn't let that slide.
I thought he should have been ashamed of himself. Then I watched Floyd Money Mayweather with Jim Gray. And I said, wait a minute. I smell something. Something seems a bit fishy.
No, money is
okay?
smelled.
I smelled something. And you know what I said to myself? I said, excuse me, this is a pugilistic sport. As reprehensible as we may deem those actions to be, as Max Kellerman is far more of an expert than I to attest to, there are far more egregious acts that have been committed by individuals in pugilistic sports like Mike, the Mike Tyson thing and all of this other stuff. And we all know that they still fought. So I'm thinking, Floyd talking about money because he's thinking 9 figures. Floyd, who else? He ain't getting in the ring with that kid Khabib or anybody like that.
Of course not. He's only going to get in the ring with Conor McGregor. He may get one tune-up. Maybe one tune-up. But other than that, he's getting in the ring with McGregor. What the hell are he going to get in the ring with Khabib for? Now, that would be crazy.
If Floyd going to make 9 figures for the UFC,
I'm trying to tell you about him.
There's a lot to discuss.
If Floyd is going to fight anybody, it's got to be Conor McGregor.
But did you see what Stephen A. Smith also did there? He's trying to conflate Conor McGregor throwing a steel handcart through a UFC bus window with Floyd Mayweather announcing that he's going to fight in the UFC. So in other words, Stephen A. Smith is another person who believes that what Conor McGregor did was part of a hype machine. Believe me, if Floyd Mayweather is going to fight Conor McGregor in a UFC match, they don't need to have Conor McGregor execute what he did, which is going to cost him millions in court, just to build up the fight. That's nonsense. But all that is a revelation on how people subconsciously believe that everything that a Caucasian athlete does must have been planned. It's way beyond the pale for anyone to consider that maybe he just did something that was thuggish. Maybe he lost control. But they don't associate that with a Caucasian athlete or a Caucasian male. So in their mind, in order for them to make it make sense to themselves, well, Conor must have planned this whole thing out. He must have utilized his normal diabolical mind state to plot this out so that we'll all be talking about it. Because it doesn't compute that he would just do this willy-nilly.
And so I said, you know what, this? And the next day, Floyd got the press conference. I mean, not the press conference, but he's getting interviewed by Jim Gray. Oh, that's what they're talking about here. That's what this is about as far as I'm concerned. It's what I believe.
First of all, about Conor McGregor's behavior.
Yeah.
We can do all the hand-wringing we want and talk about hooliganism and how it's bad. And Dana White even said here on ESPN, and Get Up said, it's an embarrassment for the sport, etc. And I believe him when he says that. Except that part of McGregor's appeal is obviously that he's the bad boy, right? So this, the whole point is the people live vicariously through the bad boy unless they're rooting for his demise, right? So half the people are rooting for him to get beaten, and the same goes for Floyd. And the other half who are living vicariously like it when they don't, or they're not kind of binded by the rules that bind the rest of us, bound by the rules that bind the rest of us, right?
Well, there's some merit to what Max Kellerman is saying. There is an attraction to, there is an allure in the anti-hero, the Clint Eastwood factor. He built an entire image off of the notion that he could kill tens of people in a film, all because the plot points were based on him seeking revenge and knowing that intrinsically in the heart of most people, they wish that they seek out revenge towards those who've wronged them and execute it with impunity. But I think that what Conor McGregor did went a little bit too far. I think that it went way too far. He's going to have to pay for it, and no, he did not plan it out that way. Not weeks in advance, and not to build up a UFC fight between himself and Floyd Mayweather. It's silly.
Their behavior is not restricted in the same way that the rest of ours is. They can act on impulse, and so people actually gravitate toward Conor McGregor, at least at the box office, when he behaves that way. Now, the same thing goes for Floyd. Not that he behaves the way Conor did, but when Floyd will say something outlandish or flaunt his money, etc. Now, look, the UFC, it's not a secret, has been making overtures to major fighters in terms of getting into boxing in a big, big way.
Right.
So when Floyd says he was going to fight in the octagon if he fights again, that's one thing. But when he says he's going to fight for the UFC if he fights again, that doesn't necessarily mean he ain't going to be boxing. Now, that might be in the octagon.
Explain what that means.
Okay, if he fights Conor McGregor, the idea that he would have just a no-holds-barred or like an MMA fight in the UFC in the octagon against Conor McGregor with straight MMA rules is ridiculous to contemplate.
Yeah.
Why would that be ridiculous to contemplate? I don't think that Mayweather would be talking about training with Tyron Woodley if he just wanted to have a boxing match in 4-ounce gloves. There is going to be grappling and kicking involved in a mixed martial arts fight that Floyd Mayweather would engage in. If not, he would lose a lot of esteem. He would lose a lot of esteem if he decided that he was going to engage in a mixed martial art fight with Conor McGregor and not allow him to kick or grapple. I'm not going to buy the fight anyway. But even if I was, I would be disappointed for him to challenge that man in his field of endeavor and not allow him to use his tools. That would look silly. That would look weak. So hopefully, if Floyd plans on doing such a thing to hamstring McGregor or whoever he chooses to fight, his team will talk him out of it. But from what Mayweather states in the intermission during the Jarrett Hurd-Erislandy Lara card last Saturday, Al Heyman is not in on his lust, his yearning to fight in the UFC. So there seems to be something rotten in Denmark. There seems to be some factions that are splitting in the Mayweather camp. Al Heyman has always been the brain trust for Floyd Mayweather, and the fact that he's going against what Al Heyman is telling him, what he's advising him of, tells me that there's someone else in Floyd Mayweather's ear that is telling him that there's a lot of money on the other side. There's a big pot of gold waiting for you, and there's a lot of glory as well. And Mayweather loves glory.
Because it takes literally, it's disrespectful to MMA the way I was saying Conor's challenge of Mayweather is disrespectful to boxing. Those who thought Conor was actually going to beat Floyd Mayweather, or even really compete. Floyd obviously wasn't in tip-top shape. He walked McGregor down and stopped him. Mm-hmm. The point is, it takes years to become expert enough to get in that octagon and at least stop your opponent from isolating one of your limbs and hyperextending a joint till you tap out.
Do you really think that it takes years to learn how to do that, Max Kellerman? Have you yourself trained in any of those arts that you can verify, that you can testify that it would take years to learn how to stop someone from trying to lock you or trying to strangle you or trying to execute a kick at your head? If it takes years for you to learn those basic techniques, then it's probably not for you. Floyd Mayweather is a world-class athlete. I don't think that it's going to take him years to learn how to execute counters to those attacks. It may take him more than a year to master those techniques, but to learn them, no.
Like an elbow or a knee, or choking you out, choking your wind, as you mentioned. It takes years to do that.
Okay.
So under what circumstances would Floyd fight Conor McGregor in the octagon? They would have to have some rules like the first X number of rounds, it's stand up, you can only hit with your fists, something like that. Otherwise, would anyone think Floyd has a chance?
Hold on, wait a minute. I'm sorry to interject. To me, that would seem more disrespectful to the sport than you alluded to.
Absolutely. And it would be Floyd Mayweather disrespecting himself. It would be him mocking himself. If that's the case, then he should just sit his ass down.
If you're telling me, if I'm a UFC fighter, all right, you got to remember, when Conor McGregor walked into the boxing ring against Floyd, he had 8-ounce gloves, all right, and he had to box. Well, you know, he had to apply boxing rules. For Floyd to go into the UFC, into an octagon, but then not have to abide by the rules of being in an octagon, I think that's the ultimate disrespect to the UFC.
Yep.
Not only to the UFC, once again, Floyd Mayweather would be disrespecting himself as a combat sports star to challenge a UFC fighter and then tell him you cannot utilize all of your tools. I don't think that he's silly enough to try something like that. Now, for the benefit of competitiveness, he may allege something along the lines that Max Kellerman is alleging. He may try to broach the subject of possibly having rounds where Conor McGregor cannot kick him below the waist, things like that. And then if it gets to the 4th or 5th round, then it's a no-holds-barred fight. But I don't see him saying we're only allowed to box the first 4 rounds, and then the 5th round, I might let you grab me around the arm. Like, come on.
Yep.
The ultimate disrespect.
Do you think people, UFC fans who'd be outraged by that?
Yes, I do.
Would be more or less likely to purchase?
Less.
More.
More, Stephen A., because at least Floyd would have a chance then.
Let me tell you what, can I give you...
No. People would not be buying that fight to see Floyd Mayweather have a chance. They'd be buying that fight to see him get embarrassed, see him get choked out, and see him tap out on the ground. Or better yet, have him not want to give up and pass out.
You my thought about that?
Go ahead.
I believe that Floyd has a better chance, hear me out here, a better chance in the UFC than Conor ever had in boxing.
I agree with you, sir. I agree with you, and that's going to go over a lot of people's heads. But the fact of the matter is that a UFC fight is about 60 to 65% boxing and stand-up anyway.
You know why? I'm not talking about against a UFC fight. I'm talking about against Conor specifically. Because even though I know Conor is ultra-skilled, Conor is a knockout artist. So he's not looking to choke.
Well, he's predominantly a striker, yes.
Choke you out, hyperextend the elbow or limbs or anything like that. He's looking to knock you out. I am saying to you that even though I think Floyd would lose inside a minute, okay, what I'm saying is that I think that Conor will go in there trying to knock him out. And Floyd's belief
trying to take him down, though.
I know he does. I'm saying you can resort to that.
I think that Conor would be too smart to try to stand up with Floyd. I think that he felt the power with 8-ounce gloves on. Floyd was outweighed by 25 pounds in that fight and was knocking Conor around the ring from about round 5 onward.
But the preference would be to knock him out. You're in octagon. Because remember, if Conor falls in a boxing ring, you got to get up in 10 seconds. Oh, no. You can get dropped in the octagon. They still got to come and finish
so
you.
Floyd 10 rounds to knock him down in their fight.
So you're Conor.
Yes, but if they were to fight in the UFC, expect Floyd Mayweather to be in the type of condition that he normally would be in for a boxing match. Now, he'll be 41, 42 years old by the time that they fight, so, of course, Father Time will have taken his pound of flesh from Floyd. But still, if they were to step into an octagon, expect Floyd to be in tip-top condition, I would think that Conor McGregor would try to attack him with leg kicks early on to try to break him down that way, hopefully wear him down mentally, and then try to step in and choke him out. I don't think that Conor would try to knuckle up with him again. That would be a huge mistake.
Conor, the whole thing is, if you're Floyd, rather, the whole thing is, this guy is going to try to knock me out. I'm wearing 4-ounce gloves when I'm accustomed to wearing 10-ounce gloves. I'm going to take him out first. That's the thinking. No, in no other category.
There's an old expression in
I'm only
boxing.
talking about punching.
There's an old expression in boxing.
Right.
Win today, look good next time. Conor goes into the octagon with Floyd. He's not going to worry about trying to prove to Floyd he can knock him out standing up. In order to achieve on Conor's level, I don't care how well known you are for striking, you have to be proficient at the ground game.
Absolutely. You can't get to a world-class level in UFC and you have no how to grapple.
You have to know how to stay out of holds and put people into submission holds. Floyd would be off his feet in 20 seconds and tapped out in 30.
And I don't believe that. Do you want me to tell you why I don't believe that? Because I believe that Conor would want to knock him out and choke him out. That's all.
Boy, you're making a whole lot of that. Boy, you're making a whole lot of
It
that.
has to be yes, no, because Brian's going to kill me because I'm extending this. Is he ducking Nurmagomedov? Is Conor ducking him?
Well, that's a whole other topic. Pretty much this topic is over. And I pretty much agree with Max Kellerman in regards to what Conor McGregor's plans would be if he tried to engage in a UFC match with Floyd. I don't think he'd be trying to knock him out. He may try to knock him out if he could stagger him. If he could catch him, then he would step in and try to hammer him with one of those straight left hands. But he's not dumb enough to go toe-to-toe with Floyd. Not again. But yes, it was just very clear to me that I was neglecting one of the possible reasons why that bullet was fired at Floyd's entourage this last week. He may have been looking for another sacrifice like he allegedly executed with Earl Hayes and his former wife, Stephanie Mosley, on December 8, 2014, before the Pacquiao fight. Once again, I hope that I'm wrong about that. But I just happen to know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm watching. So peace. All right, man, peace. So I decided to do this little epilogue to the latest Floyd Mayweather video that I did, pertaining to the shooting that allegedly had him as the target in the city of Atlanta last week. I broached the sentiment in the video that it was a possibility in my mind that Floyd Mayweather was not the actual target of the shooting, that he may have been the engineer of the shooting with the possible intention of killing one of the members of his entourage to act as a blood sacrifice in order to secure a sense of stability for the negotiations for the fight, as well as his future success in the UFC when the actual bout occurs. It may seem far-fetched to some, but amongst the Saturnian cult that he is a member of, that is what they adhere to. That is what they believe in when it comes to the veneration of the planet Saturn, as well as the god Saturn, who is the quote-unquote hidden one. Just a pseudonym for the god Pan, the horn god, who they believe in, and they salute in their photos when they throw up that hand sign, which is what we see here from Mr. Earl Hayes. Why do I have a photo up of the now deceased Earl Hayes and his former wife, Stephanie Mosley? Because the last time that Floyd Mayweather was making a huge mega fight in boxing was the Manny Pacquiao fight. And it took them years to finalize the negotiations for that fight. And I knew that the fight was going to happen when I heard about the very strange death of Earl Hayes and his wife, which allegedly Floyd Mayweather witnessed over FaceTime. And there are some conflicting reports in regards to the parameters of what occurred that night. But supposedly, Earl Hayes called Floyd Mayweather, and he was furious because he was having an argument with his wife by the name of Stephanie Mosley. And they had a lot of issues in their marriage because supposedly she had cheated on him, quote unquote, with Trey Songz, a.k.a. Mr. Steal Your Girl, who's also known as being a huge pansexual in the industry, as all these top-level entertainers are. They're all pansexuals. I've been telling you brothers this for the longest time. And Earl Hayes was a venerator of Pan as well, as you can see here in this photo. I say this all the time. Brothers, how come nobody ever asked these people what that hand sign means? Nobody ever asked them. What gang are you in that you're throwing up this hand sign? What brotherhood are you a member of? What federation are you in league with that you have to salute them in every photo with this hand sign? Whatever brotherhood it is, Floyd Mayweather is also a member. Floyd's also a member. But as we can see, Earl Hayes is down with the craft. And do I believe that he actually killed his wife and himself while Floyd watched on FaceTime? It's a possibility, but it's a very slim one. It's an even greater possibility that Floyd may have had him and his wife killed. Who knows? Who knows? And their blood was necessary to make the Pacquiao fight and to ensure Floyd's success in the fight. People have to understand that, and like I always say this, everything is connected. Okay? Everything is connected. These brothers are born with a great amount of gifts from the Most High, but they're not taught about the Most High. And they're taught to worship the quote-unquote divine light on the left-hand side, that being Heru, or Tammuz, the light bearer, a.k.a. Ra, or Ptah-min, the horn god. That's who they're taught to venerate, or Saturn, as we're going to see. But once again, pay very close attention to Floyd's friend, quote-unquote, Mr. Earl Hayes. He's throwing up the Manu Cornuto hand sign. And let me say this before we move on to the next photo. The murder occurred in December of 2014. They were finally able to finalize the negotiations for the Pacquiao fight, I believe, in January of 2015. If you guys remember, there was this huge moment where Floyd and Manny Pacquiao met at the Miami Heat game. They tried to act as if it was by happenstance. It was not by happenstance. They knew that they were both going to be there. They knew that they had to execute this ritual in front of the eyes of millions at the Miami Heat game. And in my view, once again, in my view, and everything I'm saying is alleged, this person here acted as the blood sacrifice for that fight. Once again, when you're within the craft, you can be removed at any time. It is kill or be killed, much like the Sith Lords in the Star Wars movies. That metaphorically symbolizes the left-hand path, as they view it. Within the witchcraft circles, they have a right-hand path and a left-hand path. The right-hand path are the so-called good witches. The left-hand path are the so-called evil witches. The right-hand path, they worship the sun. The left-hand path, they worship Saturn. Those of us who read the scriptures, we know that both the left and right-hand path in witchcraft are wicked. But they choose to denote a differentiation within their craft, within their sect, within their belief system. George Lucas, he created a metaphor for that. He analogized that in the Star Wars films by having the Jedi Knights on the light side and the Sith Lords on the dark side. And you also see it in the Wizard of Oz films, where you had the good witch and the wicked witch, or in the Harry Potter films. Floyd is a Saturnian. Sometimes they mix them. Sometimes they venerate the sun or the planet Saturn, which they call the black sun. You also see it where they will give it a metallurgical significance, where each planet is aligned with a certain metal. For example, the sun is aligned with gold. Saturn is aligned with lead, if I remember correctly. Remember, like I told you guys, Superman is Baal. This is why he had to leave Krypton. Krypton is Saturn. And come to the Earth. He gets his powers from the sun. For those of you who saw the original Superman with Christopher Reeve, what did he tell Lois Lane when she interviewed him? She asked him if he had any weaknesses. He said, "I cannot see through lead." What does that mean? If he goes back to the planet Krypton, he has no more powers. He's done. But once again, that's a whole other issue. That's a whole other video for another day, because that involves alchemy and many of the aspects of the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system. Why do I bring it up? Because many of these high-level so-called entertainers are Luciferians, and that's what they believe in. And they show you in their hand signs and in the clothes that they wear. Once again, Earl Hayes was a sacrifice, but he knew what he signed up for. Here's a photo of Earl Hayes and Floyd. Look at the hand sign that Floyd Mayweather's making. Once again, the horned hand. When you look up the origins of the horned hand sign or the Manu Cornuto hand sign, it means exactly that, the horned hand. They'll tell you that it's to ward off evil spirits. No, it's in veneration of the horned god, Pan, aka Cernunnos, or as he's known today, the Baphomet. Okay? He's also the god of this current society that we live in. So once again, brothers, Floyd Mayweather is well grafted into the craft. And I know a lot of brothers may not like hearing that because they're fans. So that's why I tell you, brothers, you're not supposed to be a fan of anyone. All these brothers are talented. You can say, I admire their talent. It's a great thing that they honed all their talent. But when you put a human being on a pedestal, you're only setting yourself up for disappointment. You're setting yourself up to fail yourself. Look at the video that this guy Chameleonaire did on Michael Jordan. He sounded like a guy who got let down by a surrogate dad. But anyway, pay very close attention to the hand sign that Floyd Mayweather is making here. We've already gone over this. Yes, he is a venerator of Pan. Yes, he is a pansexual, allegedly. Okay? And yes, I do believe that he was involved in the sacrifice of this person, Earl Hayes. And possibly he was involved in the quote-unquote assassination attempt that was made on a member of his entourage last week. Allegedly. Now, this here is a blown-up version of the photo that we saw initially with Earl Hayes throwing up the Mano Cornuto hand sign. Floyd Mayweather standing behind him now. We also see standing to Floyd's left is Floyd's quote-unquote associate by the name of the Harlem Hot Boy. What this person actually does, I don't know. Who the hell knows? I'm not going to speculate. All I'm going to say is that where there's smoke, there's fire. Who the hell knows who this person really is? Maybe that's just Floyd's friend. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. We also see the same dynamic with Rihanna and her friend. I'm not even quite sure if I can remember what, the dark-skinned black girl that's always rolling with Rihanna. They have people like that around. Am I saying that it's the same dynamic with Floyd Mayweather and the quote-unquote Harlem Hot Boy? I'm not saying that. I don't know who the hell this guy is. All I'm saying is that these people at the highest levels, they are Luciferians, they are pansexuals. As you can see here, once again, Earl Hayes, who was clearly very mentally unstable. Why is that, brothers? Because he put all his spirit and his soul into the relationship with that female right there, his former wife, Stephanie Mosley. And as I stated, supposedly she had an affair, quote unquote, with Trey Songz. He's getting involved with all these fast women who are dancers for these quote unquote artists. All those women are sperm receptacles. And I'm pretty sure that many of the people around him told him not to get caught up in her. Allegedly, after he found out that she had an affair with Trey Songz, he tried to reclaim the marriage, but it was never the same. He kept holding it over her head, what she did. I'll probably do a video about this another time. But brothers, when you're in these relationships and these women decide that they're going to step out on you, don't get back with them if you know that you can't move forward past that. And there's nothing wrong with you if you can't move forward past that. There's only something wrong when you're still trying to live in the past and you can't move forward. Know what you can deal with and what you can't. If you can't deal with that person anymore and the trust is gone, let it go. Don't waste any more of your time. Every chapter has a beginning and an end. It's okay. Okay, so now here we see Floyd with a certain hat that he likes to wear. He also has a necklace with the same 6-pointed star sign. And as we all know, as I've stated in the past, the quote-unquote 6-pointed star has a multitude of meanings. I remember when we first saw Floyd wearing this 6-pointed star, some brothers tried to postulate that maybe he knows that he could possibly be an Israelite. Why did certain brothers postulate that notion? Because the name David or Dawayad is literally transcribed with the arrow pointing upward and the arrow pointing downward. That's where you get the term the Shield of David from. So on the right hand side, yes, the so-called 6-pointed star can be utilized to denote the name of King David. But on the left hand side, the 6-pointed star is known in the scriptures as the star of Chion, or the star of Remphan, meaning Saturn, Within the six-pointed star, you can see the cube, aka the cube of Saturn. It's also known today as the Kaaba stone, which is venerated by the people who keep the Muslim religion or the quote-unquote Islamic faith. When they go and they circle around the Kaaba stone, it is in veneration of the cube of Saturn. Or you have the Caucasian Jews who utilize what is known as the phylacteries, where they have the black cube and they put it around their forehead or around their wrists. They try to allege that they do that because of what is stated in the Torah in Deuteronomy 11 and 18. That is false. They get that from the Talmud. The Talmud tells them to utilize the black cube because all the Talmud is a Jewish mystic version of the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system. Okay? So that is what Floyd is adhering to. I'm sure that he's a practicing member of the Kabbalah, as well as an adherent to the veneration of Saturn. Why is that? Because that's the same thing. The so-called tree of life in the Kabbalah is really the tree of knowledge. Okay? The practice of the ascension through the levels of the 10 sephirots or the 10 points in the tree of life. Those are philosophies, those are ideologies that are part and parcel to the Kabbalah and also linked to the worship of Baal, aka Saturn. I touched on this in one of the videos that I did on LeBron James. I believe that it's the one in which he's throwing up the pyramid hand sign and also the OK hand sign in the thumbnail. LeBron James was linked to a so-called rabbi by the name of Yeshayahu Pinto, who had also pulled him into Kabbalah, which is the teaching of the tree of life, also the veneration of Saturn/Baal. Remember, when you venerate Baal/Saturn, he demands a blood sacrifice. You brothers are going to come to understand that most of the people that you have been taught to venerate because of their great skill actually owe their fame to their own veneration of the quote-unquote goat god, aka the hidden god. Please understand that the astrological sign of the planet Saturn is Capricornus, which is what? The goat-headed fish god. It all links together. It's not essential for you to know these things, but it is important if you want to get a deeper understanding. Some people feel like they could just move through zeal. Zeal is okay, but knowledge is even better because you can be zealous in the wrong thing. But once again, that's another topic for another video, because you have people who try to hide their tomfoolery behind zeal. And that's neither here nor there. But once again, brothers, when you see Floyd Mayweather with this six-pointed star on his hat, he's telling you that he's a venerator of Saturn. It has nothing to do with the Shield of David or him trying to show that he's an Israelite or anything like that. No, Floyd is not an Israelite. Floyd is a worshiper of Baal. But anyway, I'm sure that we'll be revisiting this topic, especially after he eventually signs the deal to fight Conor McGregor in the UFC. Peace.